Hello, it's Nancy Sommers. I'm your host for the Loving Who You Are Summit. Welcome back, everybody. Today we have a very special lady that I absolutely love, and you will too. She has a story of survival that is nothing short of amazing. She had it all and was living the California dream, a wonderful husband, 2 children, and then a random accident changed her life forever and sent Amberly Lago on a journey of self-discovery. This summit is all about loving who you are, creating happiness, and building a life you love. We are hearing from some of the top experts who've already created lives they love, and they're going to share some of their top wisdom and tips so that you can use in your journey. We want to welcome Amberly to the show, but before we do, Amberly Lago is a health and wellness coach, a TEDx speaker, podcaster, and a leading expert in the field of resilience and transformation. She is the best-selling author of True Grit and Grace and empowers people around the world by sharing her story, how she turned a tragedy into triumph. Through her book, coaching methods, and workshops, she has curated unique tools to teach others how to tap into their superpower of resilience and persevere through any of life's challenges. Amberly offers hope and solutions for anyone like her living in chronic pain to live life to the fullest. Amberly has most recently been featured on NBC's The Today Show, The Doctors, Hallmark, contributed to magazines such as Shape, Fit, Pregnancy, Health and Disability magazine. Wow, that's plenty to talk about. Oh my goodness.
Thank
I
you. It's so good to be here and see you, Nancy. Thank you so much for having me here.
well,
And,
I'm
and
I just thrilled. Thank you for you joining us, and I can't believe how much has changed in a decade, folks. We have not seen each other in over a decade, actually,
mhm,
and
mhm.
both
And
of
we
our
didn't even recognize each other at first.
both of our lives have completely changed, and it's a pretty amazing journey, and I feel like it's the perfect timing because it's such an alignment for this period in time, and both of us have discovered ourselves or rediscovered ourselves maybe for the first time through
Mhm.
what we went through. But for today, it's you that we want to talk about, and I'd really like to have you start by just telling us who Amberly Lago is.
Well, when you were reading the bio, I thought, I think sometimes in the bio we need to include all the failures that we've had to get to where we are, because sometimes, it's just kind of the highlight reel of what we're doing or what we've done. And I want anybody who is seeing this or listening to know that, boy, there were a lot of failures before. There still are so many failures, but it's all about getting back up, trying again,
Yes.
doing it again, taking it one day at a time. And so I think I need to change my bio and list all those things so people know that, it's ups and downs, and that's part of life. And that just makes us appreciate the good moments even more. I met you years ago when I was doing fitness training, and that I still train clients. My passion is working with others, and fitness is my passion, and it was my livelihood for a long time. But after I was hit by an SUV, I was on my way home from work on my motorcycle, and a SUV came out, hit me. I was T-boned. I flew up in the air, was sliding across the asphalt for about 30 feet. When I finally came to a stop, my leg was just completely shattered in pieces. My foot was dangling off. There was blood everywhere. And actually, one of my first thoughts was, oh, wow, I may have to train clients on crutches for a while. Like, I think looking back, my default has always been, well, what can I do? What's next? What can I do?
Well,
But
and I'll just interject here because I knew you before then, before that accident, how fierce you always have been. You are a Tom girl and a Texan, and I guess
you
now,
knew me back in the paintball days and
yes,
hanging out
yes,
with the
exactly.
guys and the Krav Maga. And
You'd
yes.
come in with bruises, like this, and so I used to think this absolute gorgeous girl, and she's so feminine on the outside, is just fierce. So you were very intriguing at the, just in who you are. And so it doesn't surprise me that you'd look down at that leg and just think, uh, how am I
Got
going
to
to
get
do
up.
this?
How am I
Yep.
going to do it? But I really had no idea how much it was going to change my life. I was rushed to the hospital, put in induced coma. And when I woke up from a coma, they told me they were going to amputate my leg. And they said, there's nothing we can do for you. You've got a 1% chance of saving your leg. We need to it's like a war wound. We need to go
Now,
ahead and amputate it.
can we back up? Because something I do know about that story that I found really special and interesting is that your husband made a call on that, right?
Yes. And believe me, Nancy, he reminds me all the time that because of him, I have both of my legs. I swear, he's like, you are who you are because of me. He's kidding. Humor has
Right.
saved our relationship.
Oh,
But
so
yes,
important.
when I was in a coma, they were going to go ahead and amputate it. And he said, no, you are not touching her. I want her to wake up out of a coma with both of her legs. And I want that to be her decision.
So
Now,
beautiful.
I've had so many people say, oh my gosh, why didn't you just amputate it? Well, at the time, I had no idea that it was going to take 34 surgeries to put my leg back together piece
Wow.
by piece, and years of in and out of the hospital. Or else maybe I would have said, you know what, go ahead and take it. But I thought, it's my leg. I want to fight to keep it. I want both my legs. And that took years basically of surgery. But the hardest part of the recovery journey wasn't being in the hospital and all those surgeries. When I really hit my rock bottom was when I was diagnosed with a nerve disease called complex regional pain syndrome, which leaves me in constant chronic pain. It's dubbed the suicide disease because it's ranked highest on the pain scale, and there's
Wow.
no known cure. And so after trying so many treatments, I being an athlete my whole life, and I ran a successful business. I had trainers that worked for me. I thought, you work hard and you reach your goals. You have an injury, work hard to recover. Everything was just work hard, do what you can, and things will get better. And I was shocked to find out that things were
Yes.
not going to get better, that I was going to be in pain the rest of my life. And,
What does one do when a doctor says your life will never be the same? You're not going to walk again, or you're not going to, what do you do with that?
well, I remember being so proud when I got out of the hospital and they told me it'd take me 2 years to walk. And I had several opinions. One doctor was like, oh, you'll never run again. You'll never wear shorts again because of all your scars. And it was about 4.5 months. I had been home. I was still in a hospital bed downstairs, but I was finally upright. I mean, I went from being an elite athlete. I was sponsored, and because of you with the Nike, I worked for Nike.
Oh, you went to Nike. So was
Yes.
that while I was still
Didn't
with them?
Yes, I
Oh,
started
wow.
working with Nike, and I'm just putting that together
Girl,
right now.
Amberly, this is so wild. Folks, I just have to share with you that Amberly and I just realized who each other was before, well, in the last day, the last
Yeah.
24 hours. It's pretty
Yeah, and
amazing.
it's it is divine that we're seeing each other again. But
Absolutely.
I was in the best shape of my life. The day
Yes.
of my accident, I ran 11 miles in my best time, and I went from that and having a thriving business to all my muscle melting off my body. I had bed sores, being completely bedridden, not even being able to use the bathroom on my own. And so I was completely shattered. I had lost everything, my career, my confidence, my hope.
And
But
that's when you have to say, why, God? You know?
well, you know what? I didn't get caught up in the why,
Good.
because that made me feel like a victim.
Yes.
And I think when you ask, well, why not me? how
Right.
can I overcome this and heal, and then share what I have overcome with others so they know that they can heal too. Now,
Incredibly insightful, Amberly.
that was a long journey.
Mhm.
And it took me a lot to get there because I had so much shame and I was so stuck in, I was depressed. I was suicidal at one point. And when I'd walked into that doctor's office, and I was so proud to be standing upright, and he looked at me and he ran out of the office, and I thought, I don't know if that's good or bad. And he came back in. He said, "You've got something very serious." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I got hit by an SUV. Of course it's serious." He goes, "No, you have a nerve disease." And he said, "You need to go home and get back in your wheelchair." And I said, "Okay, well, for how long?" And he said, "Forever." He goes, "Your life is never going to be the same. You're going to be permanently disabled." And so I didn't go back home and get in my wheelchair. Instead, I went straight to physical therapy. And I told him, the therapist, he's like, "Amberly," and I was there like 5 days a week. They knew me well there. It was like my second home. And he said, "Amberly, what are you doing here today? You don't have an appointment." And I said, "Terry, I know I don't have an appointment, but I just learned something." And I was in tears. And I said, "I'm going to have to work harder than I've ever worked before if I want to have the life that I've always imagined." And good Lord, I did not know how hard that was going to be, because it is truly difficult to make the best of your life when you're dealing with any kind of pain. And look, we all have pain, whether it's emotional pain, pain for what we're going through right now. So many people are, it's affecting family members. We're losing lives from COVID. Businesses are being lost, that kind of pain, or if it's chronic pain. And I was experiencing every kind of pain, and it spiraled me down into the darkest place of my life. And I can say I'm honestly grateful for all of that now, because by the grace of God, I was able to climb out of that. And now I'm passionate about sharing some of the things that I do that help me to love myself again when I was so filled with shame and didn't like myself at all. And that have helped me get grounded with gratitude and just have a life of purpose instead of, being locked in a dark room, completely isolated.
Here's where I think part of your story is so beautiful, is your trauma specialist doctor. And I've heard you tell the story of what he did with your leg. I'll let you tell the story, because
Well,
that is key to this show and this topic of loving who you are. And
Well, I think that loving who you are, sometimes it helps when you can have someone, like for me, my husband loved and accepted me after my accident, way before I loved myself. He loved me. He showed me the way to love myself. And then I was still so ashamed of how I looked. I mean, I used to do infomercials and fitness videos, and I was a model and in magazines. And I know that sounds so shallow. It
well,
sounds really shallow to say that I was known for my legs, and now my leg was completely deformed.
see, I don't
And
think it sounds shallow, because of course, I knew you then, and I think it's more a matter of identity.
it was my identity. It was really my identity. I was at that point in my life kind of a walking advertisement for my fitness business, because I cared so much about fitness, and I walked the walk.
Yes.
And to be completely scarred up and deformed, ankle fused, they had to put my foot back on. They put it back on crooked, by the way, but I'm just grateful I have it on. But to be that scarred up from the hip down and so ashamed, and I just hated my leg. And hate's a 4-letter word in our family, but I
I hope
hated my leg.
I hope humor is part of your resiliency program, because you haven't lost that.
Well, you know what? Sometimes you just got to laugh. We just have to, you just got the situations, laughter is medicine. But
Oh, yes.
When I went in to see Dr. Wiss, who saved my leg from amputation, I love that man. He just retired, and I told him I'm going to go find him in his fishing boat when he retires, because I would just make an appointment to go see him and talk. He's in my book. He's and I'm actually in his book because I was one of the most complicated surgeries he's ever done. So when I went into his office feeling low, I sat down in front of him, and here he comes in the office, and he's got on his beautiful crisp white jacket, and he sits in front of me, and he puts my leg in his lap. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, he's got my leg on his nice jacket. And that's how much I hated my leg. Like it was a worthless
Oh,
piece of trash, you
oh,
know?
wow.
And he looked at it. He just held it. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. But he looked
Me
at it
too.
like, oh, it's a piece of art. This is his masterpiece. This is his 1% that he saved when every other doctor wanted to amputate. He saved it, and something clicked. And I thought, oh my goodness, if he can look at it that way, then maybe I can learn to do that too. And something changed after that day, and I started just trying. And so I think if we can just try every day, it gets a little bit easier. And once I was in full acceptance of my leg, it turned into more than just acceptance. It turned into, oh my gosh, what a miracle this is. Look at this. This is pretty crazy. Like my calf is in the front of my leg now instead of the back of my leg. How did they pull this off? How did they get this back together? And I used to always cover my leg up. And then for the first time I remember when I wore shorts, and it was liberating it to go, you know what? My scars are a symbol of what I have overcome and what I have survived.
Mm,
And when other people see my scars, I hope, my sincere wish is it will give them hope that no matter what is going on in their life, they can heal, they can overcome, they can love themselves, and they can have a life of joy despite their circumstances.
absolutely. It's pretty amazing. People do really well. I'm in the disability world as a service dog authority, so I know a lot of people that are amputees and veterans and things like that. And I know people do really well with prosthetics and that.
Well, I think honestly, I probably would have done better with a prosthetic, to be brutally honest. I would have saved a lot, thousand millions actually, in hospital costs and treatments. And I actually went to my pain doctor about a year, and this is probably like after surgery number 26. And I went to him and I said, you know what? We need to just go ahead and cut it off. And he was like,
Oh,
you want to amputate now? And I said, yeah, it's causing me too much pain. I just can't deal with the pain anymore. He said, you know what? You can't amputate it now. You have complex regional pain syndrome. If you amputate it, may cause the CRPS to spread or get worse. There are no guarantees. And so that moment changed my life. And
well,
that
now,
moment was when I started to really go, okay, well, these are the cards I've been dealt, and it's up to me. I have a choice, and I choose to play the hell out of these cards, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make the best of it. And so that's when I got really serious about really eating anti-inflammatory foods to bring down the pain. I cut
right.
out alcohol. I started, I've always been into fitness, really started making sure I did things to strengthen my body, because when you move your body, it's not just about looking good. It's not about that for me, especially not anymore. It's about feeling good.
Yes.
And when you feel good, and when you exercise, it moves your mindset, it changes your physiology. And so it's still my medicine. And people go, well, how do you work out when you're in so much pain? And you know what? I just do what I can do. If I
Would,
can't do lower, I do upper.
would you have been as would you still have the chronic pain issue had you amputated initially? Would
That,
that
that is a question that I've asked myself, and
Nobody can
who
answer.
who knows? It's a very baffling
Well,
disease or
and
disorder. It's
it doesn't serve much purpose to ask. I was just curious, but you know, you have your leg, you are beautiful, you can still, you can walk and you can wear shorts, probably a bikini.
yeah. Oh my goodness! It took me 2 years, but I wore a bikini on the beach and I ran again for the first time. And it was one of the happiest days of my life
I,
because when you're told you can't do
oh
something,
yeah.
it feels so good to
As
do
a
that.
former triathlete myself and runner, I totally relate to that. It was everything. The other day, I'm actually selling my tri bike, and the other day I walked it back. I had it tuned up at a bike shop, and I walked it back up the hill because it has the clip-on shoes, you know. So so I just walked it home, and I can't tell you the emotion just walking that bike because
Oh,
I used to race on my bike and I know you
mm-hmm,
understand that. So I
mm-hmm.
totally understand that run must have been amazing.
It was, I mean, I would run and fall down and cry and get back up and run and then cry tears of happiness. And I've got pictures of my daughter, and she was so little. She was only 2 when I had my accident. And so, one of the things that's such a blessing throughout this whole process is I've been able to show her how to love herself and show her an example of resiliency, and also show her an example of entrepreneurship because she's a little entrepreneur and she's only 12 now,
Oh, it's
and she's
beautiful.
already like creating a website, selling stuff. And so
I,
that was she my kids are my biggest inspirations, and at my lowest point, thinking of them is what pulled one of the things that really pulled me through that dark time.
who helped you? You were like 3 months in the hospital. Who helped you with the kids?
Oh my goodness. So my husband stopped working. He took a leave. He did his vacation days and sick days. Thank goodness for the CHP and the family and the brotherhood and sisterhood of the police department, because they really came and supported us. And so my husband became a caretaker, a full-time dad, and Mr. Mom was at the hospital every single day. And then the first couple of weeks when, I was in ICU, and so he couldn't take care of my daughter and be there for me because kids weren't allowed. So I had one of my best friends helped. My mom flew in from Texas and helped.
I thought
And
she probably did. Hmm.
there's such strength and community, and I am so grateful that I have an incredible community. And I was telling somebody that story, and they said, well, you're really lucky that you have a community. And I said, well, you know what? Hard work puts you where your blessings can find you,
Hmm.
because community is about being of service to others. And so I had been of service. That was my whole business, was being of
Hmm.
service and seeing how I could help people. And when it came time where I needed help, I'm stuck in the hospital, I'm in a coma, I had trainers that trained my clients for me. I had
Oh,
clients that were coming to the hospital, bringing me food. I mean, and so that is when I really started a daily gratitude journal too, because I was writing down everything I was grateful for my clients that were bringing me food, for my friends. It was really a time also when I learned that we just aren't meant to do hard things alone. We are wired for connection, and in connection, it's there. It's
one
powerful.
100%. And also the gratitude journal, because gratitude expands things for us. It actually, I think the gratitude journal, because it was instrumental in my survival as well, and I do it to this day.
It is the quickest way to shift your perspective and to make you
Yes.
feel better. Now, when I got out of the hospital, every single doctor was like, you need to be on an antidepressant. And, I've got several family members that are on antidepressants because depression runs into my family, but fitness was always my cure for that, to feel
Yes.
better.
Yes.
And
I relate.
every doctor was like, you're going to need to be on prescription medicines. This is horrible. Like, you are going to need meds. And so for 3 months, I tried to take an antidepressant and I threw it up every day. My body just rejected it. And so I kept telling them they'd tried different medication, could not take it, would throw up. And I said, if I can just work out, I'll be okay. And so I lifted weights in my hospital bed, and by writing in my gratitude journal, that was quickly shifted what I didn't have into what I did have. And it will shift what you can't do into what you can do.
Absolutely.
And when here's the thing, resilient people focus very wisely. They really
Deliberately.
pay attention to
With
what they're focusing
intention.
on.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. Is that something you teach in your
Yeah,
resilience?
because you know what? It's really easy to hang on to a negative comment. Have you noticed that? Like, you can be walking through the day and a million people say, "Oh, I like your hair. Oh, you look great. Oh, you look nice today. You look healthy," or whatever. Then the one person will say, "Oh, wow, did you put on some weight?" And that will stick like Velcro, And so by having a foundation in place of how to quickly get out of, because I can tell myself all day, I can beat myself up all day, but it's how to quickly get out of that negative
Yes.
thinking,
Yes.
and that inner critic that creeps up and wants
Mm-hmm.
to ruin your day.
Mm-hmm.
How to get out of that. And I'm telling you, gratitude is one of the quickest ways to shift your perspective and change your life.
Absolutely. And I had something that I haven't heard you talk about. So you probably had no problem with the trauma effects like PTSD or anything. Did you have that?
I kept having doctors ask me about that. Now, I can say that for a while, when I would close my eyes, I would see the SUV coming straight at me for a while.
Mm.
But I got past that. That wasn't hard. I don't think that I had a lot of post-traumatic stress from it. I think that I was so into each day just trying to survive, because
Right.
I would have a surgery, then I'd have a day of recovery, then I'd have a surgery, then a day of recovery. And my mindset was so much on, how can I prepare for this next surgery? I got to do everything I can to be like a warrior mentally, physically, spiritually, because it takes all of that to get through hard times. It's not just, being as healthy. You can be healthy, but if you don't have the right mindset, like for me, if I can't see myself doing something, then I can't do it. If I can visualize myself doing something, then I'm like, okay, I got this. So I think it's very important to really visualize a good outcome. Visualize what your dreams are. Visualize, if you want to be a speaker, think about yourself being on the stage, sharing the most important message of your life. Think about that, and I did that as a
Absolutely.
young girl when I was a dancer, whether I would visualize myself being able to do 4 pirouettes and then I could do it. Or as a runner, I would visualize myself coming in first
Yes.
place. And so it really is a powerful tool.
It is a powerful tool. And oh my gosh, I don't even want to end. I guess the one of the last questions, and then I'll have two more questions, but one of them, Tony Robbins talks about writing a book. He'd sooner pull his nails out. A lot of people haven't heard that, but I've actually heard him say it. And you wrote a
Because
book.
it's hard.
Yes. Yes.
It's hard.
Oh, Amberly, I've been working on a book for 2 books. Actually, I've got 2 books in the works for 7 years. I mean, and they are happening now, but so talk to us about that. You did write a book, and what was that process like?
Well, you know what? I love when people tell me I can't do something or they doubt me. I kind of enjoy being the underdog because it's my motivation. So like when I had the doctor tell me, oh, you'll never run again, that was one of my biggest motivating moments. When I said, I think I want to write a book, and I had so many people saying, oh, you'll never do that. You don't even have a college education. How are you going to pull that off? You don't even own a computer. And I didn't own a computer at the time. And I thought, oh, really? Well, I'm going to do this. And so I wrote every day. I worked on it. And I really do believe in divine timing, because I happened to hold the elevator door for a man who happened to work at a publishing house. And he was so touched by the fact that I held the door for him. We got to talking, and come to find out he's a publisher. Well, he said, well, I'd love to read your book. And I said, well, it's not finished. I don't have a title. Long story short.
That was no accident, right? I just have to interject.
Yes, it was no accident. Well, it ended up, they published the book, and they said, look, we don't do as a hybrid publisher, because there's so many different ways to publish a book.
Yes.
And they said, we don't do any marketing. If you want to sell this book, it's up to you. Well, at the time, I had no platform. I had no website. I had no social media. Well, I had Instagram, and I think I had about 100 followers on there. Nothing. And I thought, okay, within a year, I built my website. I worked on social media. And when I say work on it, I mean every single day I posted. I spent hours every single day to build connections and network with people. And from a year from when they told me it's up to you, you have to market your book, till the publish date, I gained 10,000 new followers on Instagram alone, which anybody on Instagram knows that's a big deal, because then you can do a swipe up on your stories.
Yes.
I then had NBC call and say, Megyn Kelly wants to interview you on the Today Show. And I was like, is this a joke? Are you kidding? And when I got to NBC, I grew up watching Wonder Woman. I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan. And I got to the studio, and I had my Wonder Woman sweatshirt on. I wasn't dressed in my clothes yet. And I had my Wonder Woman sweatshirt on, and I walk in the studio, and there's Wonder Woman stuff everywhere. And I see my dressing room, and the dressing room right next to it is Linda Carter, who is Wonder Woman. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm on the Today Show with Wonder Woman. This is a dream come true. And so it really changed my life, because it enabled me to connect with people who I never would have connected with otherwise. So it's been quite the journey. But let me tell you, if there's somebody listening to this that wants to write a book, if I can write a book with no college education, I didn't own a computer, I wrote my whole book by hand and then bought a computer to type it. You can do it. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't.
That's right.
Just work on it a little bit every day.
That's right.
Just commit. It's what your priorities are. If it's important to you, you will do it when, I think you have to figure out a time when you feel, like for me, my writing time is in the morning, where I don't have a lot of distractions. And I think that's
Me
key.
too. Me too. That's my creative time. I think we're fresh when we wake up, and I think we have a lot of stories right now with this time of the pandemic that will be coming out, because people do have more time in their home and they're around their computers.
I think so too.
Amberly, I have to draw us to a close, but I know you have a wonderful gift for the people. Would you like to share that?
Oh, yes. Well, I have a couple of gifts. I have a gratitude journal, and do I share the links with you, or
You don't
people?
have to. We'll put them in. If you just want to share what it is and tell the listeners, and that would be great.
Okay. Well, because gratitude is such a huge part of my life, I have a downloadable gratitude journal. I also would love to gift anybody who is interested to my course called Your Resilient Life, which is a mind, body, spirit, and life course to teach you how to tap into your superpower of resilience and thrive. So I love connecting with people. Please reach out to me and let me know if you're interested in that, and I will give you the code for that the code part isn't set up. So I'll have to give that to them.
You can send
And
it to me. Send it to
okay.
me, and it'll be in the notes for this. So
Yeah. And
yeah, thank
you
you
can
so
reach
much.
me at amberlylago.com, and there's free gifts and stuff there. So anyway, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for taking the time to do this, and we're not going to lose touch this time.
That's
And
right.
and
That's
for
right.
the listeners, thank you for joining us or me and all of us for another Loving Who You Are episode. Have
Thank
a
you.
wonderful day.